In this video, I'm going to tell you about the one thing that men need to know about family law. If you learn this, it will set you up for success. If you do not realize this, you are going to go down a path that hundreds of thousands of men have gone down before you. That is the path, basically, of suffering. Now, I'm going to use a comment by a subscriber to explain what you should always have in the back of your mind about family law. You may be a young man on the verge of making some of these same decisions yourself. Maybe you have a girlfriend. Maybe you're engaged. Maybe you have a baby on the way. You need to watch all of this video. You will not get this information anywhere else. Now, what is our subscriber's situation? He's a doctor working hard with 50-50 custody of his kids. He has 4 of them. He's paying a lot of child support. Meanwhile, his ex-wife is living in her parents' basement, is paying no expenses, and she's receiving both child support and alimony. But the alimony is about to end. Because of that, the ex-wife now wants to increase the child support. She is basically leeching off of him. He wrote a comment in one of my videos. The part of the comment that we're going to focus on today reads as follows. The system will encourage a loser to marry a hard worker so she can sit at home and collect checks from a man that works day and night to make ends meet. Is there a way to persuade the judge that she's a deadbeat mom? Or does this just apply to men? Now listen, those are great questions. Let's take a look at them. Our subscriber says that the system will encourage a loser to marry a hard worker so she can sit at home and collect checks from a man that works day and night to make ends meet. Now let's take a step back. Let's ask ourselves a fundamental question. Why is our subscriber in this situation? He has 4 kids and 50-50 custody, but he says he's bouncing rent checks while his ex-wife is living with her mother and is not working. So she's mooching off of him. What did he do to end up in this situation? Well, let me tell you what he did. Let me tell you what all men who are about to deal with marriage or parenting need to hear. What is the focus of family law? The main focus is on tradition. Yes, tradition. Now, what do I mean by that? How does it work? Does tradition operate against men or women, or is it just against the men? The answer is that tradition hits both genders. Stick to the end of the video to hear how it screws women. But make no mistake, that tradition usually hits men much harder. Guys, listen up. Let me tell you something about tradition. There are 2 types of tradition. I'm going to call the first type a general tradition. General tradition is usually what happens in our society. What roles do men and women generally play with regards to parenting, with regards to supporting the children, with regards to property? This is the main part where the unfairness comes in. And the second type of tradition is specific tradition. Specific tradition usually happens in your home. What role do you specifically play with your children, with your wife? Let's analyze how this works. Let's take a look at a hypothetical. Here's a fun fact. One of the main ways that they teach young wannabe lawyers in law school is through the use of hypotheticals. Hypotheticals are used in every law school in the nation. So let me show you what one looks like. Say you're our subscriber, the doctor. Say you're in residency school. You don't have much money right now and you don't have much time, but you're single and you want to see what's out there. So you're on one of these dating apps, these swiping apps to see what's up. Now you see a woman. Her profile says that she has a master's degree and she owns her own home and she owns a little business, but she's average looking, which should be okay because you're average looking yourself, boy, but you don't want average. No. So you swipe left, reject. Oh, but the next profile, you see a beautiful little chica working down at the goddamn Foot Locker. Her profile says that she's completed high school, but you don't care about that. Guys don't care about a woman's education, right? That's what you hear. We don't care about a woman's advanced degrees. No. We don't care about a woman's businesses. No. We care about how you look, right? So you see this nice little thing and you're all running. And I get it. I don't blame you. You guys go out on the first date. She likes the fact that you're in residency school and it's all good. One thing leads to another and now you're a couple. One thing leads to another and now she's pregnant. You like her, she likes you, so she tells you to marry her. And you say, why not? Now you got a little baby boy and she's like, hey, I don't really want to go back down to the Foot Locker. You know that the cost of what you would pay in daycare is about the same as she would earn anyways. So you just tell her to chill out at home and watch the kid. You've got it, right? You're going to be a doctor. Then you come home one day and she tells you that she's pregnant again. Now, let's be honest, you don't really want another kid, but you're going to be a doctor, you can afford it. And let's be honest, now that she's pregnant, it's not like you have a choice anyways. And now after the birth of your second child, she's definitely not going back to the Foot Locker. Now that's the scenario. What have you done? You'll say, what do you mean? I'm just living and I'm living good. I'm a relatively young doctor. I got a beautiful wife. I've got these kids. You're on number 3 now, by the way. Congratulations. Congratulations. So you tell me it's all good, lead attorney. Well, I know it's all good, but my question was, what have you done? I'll tell you what you've done. You set up a tradition. You have three kids that you support. You have taken a woman who had mediocre value in the labor market, high school, Foot Locker, and you have pulled her out of the labor force and have kept her out for years, which has really decreased even further her value as an employee. Remember way back when you were in residency? You only had to take care of yourself. Now fast forward 11 years and you've created a situation where you have to take care of 4 additional people, 3 kids and a wife, in a nice house, by the way, and you're paying for all of it. Now, here's one of the fundamental truths about family law and family law judges. What these judges want in all cases is stability. Stability. They want the status quo. You want a judge to go out on a limb for you? Good luck. These family law judges want to keep following the tradition that society and that you have established. So I have a question for you. When your wife files for divorce against you, oh yeah, because 70 to 80% of all divorces are filed by women, how do you think a judge is going to look at your divorce case? The judge is going to say, you were supporting all 3 of these kids on your income alone? Well, let's keep that going. And you were supporting your wife for 11 years, paying for all of her bills? Let's keep that going. You got your kids and your wife accustomed to a certain lifestyle, that nice house up in Buckhead? Oh yeah, let's keep that going. You see, these judges want the status quo. They want stability. They want tradition. If you want to play Santa Claus during your marriage and support all of these people, then you better have a really big sleigh when your wife files for divorce. Now, here's the question. Is this focus on tradition unfair? Well, yes, obviously. And no, the focus on the general tradition is completely unfair. It's based on what society usually does. Society says that usually women are the caretakers of the children. So if a judge focuses on that, then guess who's going to get primary custody, regardless of how good a father you are? And society says that usually men are the breadwinners. So guess who's going to get ordered to pay alimony? But there's an aspect that's fair as well. Listen, we are real men over here and we own up to our actions. We hold ourselves accountable. In the hypothetical of you being that young doctor, you got to choose a lot of the tradition that you established. You got to set the stability. You established the tone. You created a tradition throughout those 11 years. Look, people in the comment section, they say, lead attorney, why are so many men screwed over in these divorces? Why are so many men getting financially ruined? I will tell you what the root cause of all of the problem is. The root cause is when you swipe right on that little mama working at the goddamn Foot Locker, you did not realize how strong the focus on tradition would be. You didn't appreciate it. You didn't have an uncle walk up to you at the family barbecue when you were 19, pull you by the collar and say, come here, little boy, let me tell you what's going on in my relationship. Let me tell you what's going on in my marriage. Let me tell you what's going on in my divorce. He didn't tell you. You didn't have a man from an older generation come to you and tell you about the things that might be waiting down the road. You didn't have the visibility. No one told you what was up. If you, as a young doctor, had married another doctor and both of you were working and making about the same, then what's the tradition then? Your wife is going to look silly when she asks for alimony. The judge is going to say, what alimony? You don't need it. You've been working throughout the marriage and making what he makes. No alimony. Or if you had married an accountant or an architect or a lawyer or a businesswoman, then you as a doctor might not pay 1 penny in child support if you get 50-50 custody. And let's talk about custody for just 1 second. I get men who come into my office all the time and their wives have been cheating on them. So now as punishment, these fathers want custody of the kids. Now I practice in Atlanta and that general tradition that women get custody works very hard against men. It's completely unfair. Every now and then though, you will get a case of a father who can make a claim for at least 50-50 custody. So when a man comes to me and says he wants custody, I evaluate his chances of winning. In my head, I want to know what the specific tradition has been. What has the tradition been in his home? I ask him, well, who wakes up at night to feed the babies when they're crying? And they say, well, she does because I have to work. And then I ask, well, who puts the kids on the bus for school every morning? Well, she does because I have to work. And who takes the children to the doctor's appointments and all the things like that? Well, she does because I have to work. DC, the tradition is that she takes care of the kids and that you work. So what do you think the judge is going to order in your divorce? That she takes care of the kids and that you, that's right, you work. Men, look at your relationship right now. Look at your marriage and ask yourself, what tradition have I allowed to be created in my home? If you are engaged, look Look ahead, look down the road. What are the dynamics of your relationship? And listen, the focus on tradition doesn't just operate against men. Well, the general tradition does, but not the specific, not the tradition that is formed in your household. I represent women right now, today, that when their divorce case finalizes, they will have to pay alimony to their husband. Now, you don't know the facts of these cases, but what do you suppose the tradition has been? There are women businessmen, women pilots, women soldiers. There are women whose jobs preclude them from getting custody of their kids because they travel so much. What do you think has been the tradition in their household? These women are going to have to pay child support to the father. By choosing that employment, those women set the tradition that they're going to have to deal with later on down the road. I was on Reddit the other day and look what a woman posted, complaining about the child support system in Florida. She's got 2 kids, the father never paid child support, and Child Support Services is saying that that man has to pay $58 a month in child support. She says the child support too low because the father works under the table or in the service industry living off tips. She says, am I doomed to watch him live his life with no responsibility to his children? I have a question for her. She's surprised that the father is allowed to work under the table and live his life with no responsibility to the children. But if I asked her what type of person he was during their marriage, she would say, well, he was the type of man that would work under the table and live his life with no responsibility for his children. Do you see what she did? Do you see that the courts are just continuing with the tradition that she allowed? She ends her comment by saying, and I quote, I am disappointed in Florida's system for letting him get away with it. But she's really not disappointed in Florida's system at all. She's disappointed in the tradition that she allowed to be set. So let's go back to our doctor. He says the system will encourage a loser to marry a hard worker. My question is, why the hell is the hard worker marrying the loser? Why are you men marrying losers? This is not the tradition that you want to set. This is about raising young men's standards. Set the right tradition. Is the system broken? Yes. But so many of you are not ruined by the system's flaws. You're ruined by the focus on tradition. Knowing what family law judges value, don't just choose a wife based on her looks. Looks come and go. Do you know what has staying power? Tradition. What's valuable for tradition? What's valuable in a wife? Well, is she employable? Is she smart? Does she have any assets so that she doesn't need yours when she divorces you? I'm old. We used to say, does she have any business about herself? I'm not talking about one night stands. Who cares if they're smart or not? I'm not talking about girlfriends. But when you cross the line into wives, you need to think differently. You need to think about the tradition that you're going to set. Am I saying do not get married? No, get married if you want. Am I saying only get married to educated, unattractive women? No, go get married to Miss Footlocker. Am I saying do not have kids? Hell no, have all the kids you want. Listen, do whatever you want to do. All I want is one thing. I want you to be informed. I want you to know the value of tradition, both the tradition that concerns society and the tradition that you set in your home. That's it. Once you know that tradition is the key, go out there and do your thing. Are there 1,000 other points that could help you out if you knew them? Yes, but you will be okay if you just keep that one thing in mind.